Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today's video, we're going to dive into the GT Forkstanders and their generations. First things first though, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe. It only takes a fraction of a second and helps support the channel. Keep those notifications on so you don't miss any upcoming content. Now, let's get into it. Well, we need to go back to 1983. GT is still developing its freestyle lineup, and with input from Eddie Fiola and Bob Morales, the first GT freestyle bike was created, the GT Pro Performer. Now Gary's sticking to his original recipe and opting for bolt-on accessories instead of forcing them into the frame stander and fork stander to be integral to the design, came up with some bolt-on ideas. With the advent of new tricks, it pushed the envelope in the need for these optional accessories like standing platforms. On the marketing side, Richard Long was thinking, hey, we could sell these and make some money. Now, just to be clear, GT doesn't refer to these as generational. We do in the community. So we're going to start with Gen 0. These were available 1984 to 1985. They came in one color, gray and silver. The design is round with a black rubber molded onto the platform section. Now, were they designed by GT? No, they were borrowed from motorcycle accessories. Bolt-on, flip-down Forkstanders were rebranded by GT and used on the 1984 to 1985 Eddie Fiola World Tour model. Now, these are fairly large Forkstanders, and they protrude quite a bit from the fork when mounted, about 4 5/16 when measured from the edge of the fork, or about 110 millimeter for our metric friends. Dyno also sold these around the same time period. They were available in a variety of colors, including black, white, lavender, green, and blue. And these were identified with the Dyno logos on the end caps. Now, if you're interested in some new versions of these motorcycle pegs for your 1984 to 1985 builds, check out this link I'll leave to the description to J&P Cycles. They offer a new version of this peg. It looks very similar, and they come in at 1 inch, 1 1/4 inch size. So here's the link. The SKU is 953324. It's item P as in Peter 269509. Now, they're not identical to the originals, but they will offer you a great alternative if you're on a budget. Generation 1, available 1985 through 1986. Now, these have a Pat P stamped on the top surface. The GT logo is stamped into the side of the Forkstanders, and they project 3 1/4 from the fork tube when mounted, or 82.5 millimeters. In terms of the landing area, they provide about 3 1/8 of usable platform for your shoes, or 80 millimeters. The width of the platform is 1 1/8, or 28.5 millimeter. Now, these are flat design platforms, unlike the Gen 0, which are round. These utilize spring clips to keep the Forkstanders in the stowed position or lock in the downward position, in the platform position. These spring clips can pop out and they get lost, leaving your Forkstanders to just flop around. Now, I'll leave a link to the video I made about how to install the spring clips if you're unsure how to get them back into place. Now, these fit both 1 inch and 1 1/8 diameter forks, and they were available in white, black, chrome plate, bubblegum pink, lavender, GT blue, aka Maui blue, and green. And if I missed a color, just let me know in the comment section. Now, some of you are going to ask, where do I get replacement spring clips from? And I'm going to address that right now. So the first things first is the patent doesn't last forever. So these Forkstanders have been knocked off and reproduced, and some of them have the spring clips. They're not identical, but they're so close that it's not going to matter, and you can use them. But you just have to be careful because some of them do not have spring clips, and they have a different version of a spring, which is just a coil spring, and you don't want those. So you got to look very closely at the pictures and ask questions when you're buying them. And really, it's not economical anymore. These used to be about $20 for a set, and you could just pitch the Forkstanders and keep the springs. But now they've climbed up to about $50, $60, and it's a little ludicrous to buy something just to get to spring clips. Generation 2, available late 1986 through 1996. That's right, a decade. 2 different versions of these are available. Now we're going to go Gen 2 Style 1. These are late 1986 through early 1987. They have a Pat P on the top, and the GT stamped out logos are now on the side. So these are different from the Generation 1. Colors were identical to Gen 1, and dimensionally they were identical to Gen 1 as well. Now, Style 2 was available 1987 through 1996. These are different only because they have the US patent number on the top. Otherwise, they are very similar to Style 1. Now, the only differences here are as Style 2 progressed on, somewhere around the beginning of 1990, GT stopped offering all of the color on the palette and just went with black, white, chrome plate, and blue. So those were the only colors available as things got later on into the early 90s. And now for some fun facts. 1991 was the last year GT equipped the Forkstanders on their high-end bikes like the Pro Freestyle Tour Team model and the Aggressor Team model. You could still see the GT Forkstanders in the GT catalogs up to 1996, although GT does not show them in 1995. Just check in the component section and you will find them. They were sold through 1997 and then residual leftover stock from local bike shops or mail order. GT stopped production of these in 1995. Oh, now we can discuss the functionality of the Forkstanders. I genuinely found them to be, well, useless. The first things I did when I got my 88 Pro Freestyle Tour from the bike shop was remove the reflectors, well, not all of them, I'm not crazy, and the chain guard, and then the frame and the Forkstanders. I shelved them in favor of pegs. I found them to be more versatile, but that was just my style. So if you use them and you rode with them, let me know in the comments section. One thing's for sure, if you had Forkstanders, you would end up with a hitchhiker on your front, no doubt. That one friend without a bike. Well, that about wraps it up. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit that like button. Just do it. Maybe you learned something new today. Let me know if you did. Now get subbed and get back to those builds. Stay safe, stay healthy, and remember, tomorrow is not guaranteed.